undisputed.
Here we go. I'm back on a Wednesday. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. It is great to be back. Joy Taylor is joining me on an absolute packed show. Nick Wright will be joining us later this hour. Joy, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome back.
It is great to be back. Hope you had a nice few days without me. I want to thank Doug Gottlieb and everybody, enjoying everybody and the staff for filling in. Hung out for a couple days. Don't get those rare vacations with my wife much. Had a lot of fun. A couple margaritas. Some sunshine, little boat, fishing, all that stuff. And here we are. Let me just say, when you're single, a guy thinks he has power. I can do what I want. I'm single. I can go out tonight. I can go to bed when I want. But you don't have any power. You're just a guy. Power is when you marry a strong woman like Tom Brady and Giselle. And she has a point of view. And she's got a power base. And you become a power couple. J-Lo and A-Rod's a power couple. A-Rod's never been stronger. Tom Brady and Giselle. Russell Wilson and Ciara are now a power couple. Guys tend to think they have power when they're single. Power is when you marry somebody, conjoin with somebody who also has a strong point of view, who holds you accountable, who tells you things you don't want to hear, who forces you on a daily basis to think about others, who whispers in your ear, you deserve better, demand more. Russell Wilson is demanding the Seattle Seahawks make him the highest paid player. He deserves every penny, by the way, and I think he will sign a mega deal. But this is the new Russell Wilson. The more Tom Brady spent with Giselle, Tom demanded more respect from Bill Belichick. It is now Brady's team as much as Belichick's. It was all Belichick pre-Giselle. This is no longer Pete Carroll's team. This is no longer the Legion of Doom or Boom. This is Russell Wilson's franchise. Ciara's going to make sure it is. Russell, Ciara are an American power couple. I stand by my story 6 weeks ago. Told by an entertainment agent they were going to be wanting to spend more time in New York, maybe playing football there, but spending more time there. She's got a real career. I think he'll sign a deal, and Seattle knows they have to, and I would give up 5 first-round picks to get him. I think he's one of the most underrated players in league history. But this is now a 2-person power couple. Agents don't love Seattle. It's geographically isolated. It's either if you're in L.A. way up there or in New York as an agent way out there. Every great Mariner seemingly leaves. The NBA left. It's geographically way up there. Russell Wilson, he's going to get it. He earned it. He deserves it. And he and Ciara are going to demand it. This is now our franchise. If we're going to stay here and be geographically isolated in not a mega entertainment capital, we're going to be the highest paid quarterback couple in the league. By the way, he set a deadline. That's very off-brand for him. He's always been a team guy, right? Every time he comes on the show. I love him. Comes on the show often. It's my favorite quarterback outside of Brady, maybe of all time. When he comes on the show, a lot of people say, well, he can have cliches. He doesn't on our show. He's very talkative. But generally, it's about the team. It's about us. It's about we. This is about him taking over the franchise. This is Russell Wilson's team. By the way, deserved it last year, 3rd in passer rating behind Breeze and Mahomes. 35 touchdowns, 7 picks, which is absolutely remarkable, considering they still don't have a great offensive line. But guys think they tend to have their most power when they're single, and you've got none of it. You don't have any of it. You're just a dude, a million of you. Power is joining up with somebody who also has a career and a point of view and is smart and is beautiful and is strong and challenges you and tells you repeatedly, you deserve more than that boss is giving you, and you deserve more than that team is giving you. Russell Wilson's always played nice. Those days are over. It's his franchise. It's his city. He could do a Robinson Cano there briefly and leave. But if you're gonna make sure you're gonna keep him and not go play in a mega entertainment capital, replace Phillip Rivers with the Chargers, be in Los Angeles, go to New York and replace Eli Manning, you got to make him the highest paid player in the league. Good for him. Deserves every penny of it. Let's shift gears to this. Actually, it was a touching moment last night. Russell Westbrook, not my favorite NBA player, did 20, 20, and 20. 20 points, 20 assists, 20 rebounds. Not very many players in the history of the league could do that. Russell's one of them. And it was a tribute, he said after the game, to Nipsey Hussle, who was sadly, brutally murdered, Los Angeles native, Westbrook, fan of his music and friends. And after the game, Westbrook doesn't talk a lot, doesn't let you inside his personality. He's a pretty private guy. Came out and said, this is for Nipsey. So that's cool. And this is not the day to pick on Westbrook. An emotional night for him, 2020. Didn't love him waving off the coach, doing his things. I think he's too into stats, kind of the anti-warrior. But it was a nice night. But I will say this. I've never argued this is what he can do. Right? We all know that, right? I know he's talented, and I know he can do the triple-doubles. But rent is now due. And this team's been awful for 2 months. They have not won back-to-back more than one time since the All-Star break. They're 8-15 since the All-Star break. And Russell's shooting a lot now, like a lot. And Paul George is kind of disappearing, and Steven Adams isn't getting numbers. Rent is due. The collections are coming. Last night was an emotional moment for Russell Westbrook, and he deserves appreciation for that. And he is an all-time unique player. I mean, if somebody 20 years from now said Russell Westbrook, I would be like triple-double, unique, relentless. I mean, those are all the words. But the NBA is a really long season. And the NBA media spends 5 months trying to find stories, and Westbrook is the best undercard in the sport. He's a constant story with his relentlessness, his play, his triple-doubles, his personality, his rigidity, all of it. He is the best undercard fighter. But the main event and the pay-per-view in the NBA is the postseason. That's when everybody watches. That's when the ratings quadruple. And he has not been good in the main event. He has not been good on pay-per-view. And rent is due, and collections are coming, and it is time. And there's only 5 teams in the NBA with multiple All-Stars. There's 5. All those teams in the NBA, there's 5. And there's going to be one that probably gets swept out of the first round. You got a Hall of Famer in Russell. Paul George is an MVP candidate. Steven Adams, a hell of a third player. Grant can play. And they're going to get waxed right now. 8th. They're struggling. It's not about Westbrook's ability to put up massively impressive, unique numbers. That is not it. And I actually liked that he took off the body armor last night, let us in a little bit. Was a human being, because he's often just been a human doing. He gives us volume and stats. I like that. And we should acknowledge that. And I will acknowledge that. It's a real human moment, and it's awesome. But we are now about 10 games out of the playoffs, and that is the main event, and that is pay-per-view. And that's where the Warriors stand into that ring and blow everybody out and knock them out in the first, second, third round. And so that time is coming. And I think for Russell Westbrook, I'd like to see a little less on the numbers and a little more on Paul George, because I've seen this movie before. Hangover 1, triple-double MVP year, everybody watched it and was kind of blown away how great it was. And then Hangover 2, not as many people watched it, and I felt like it was repetitive, and I'm getting triple-doubles, and I don't care as much. This is becoming Hangover 3, which is nobody cares, and it's repetitive, and it seems like not to matter much. And to be honest, there are some nights with Westbrook, he's not even on the call sheet. Like he's supposed to let Paul George do the speaking roles and stuff. That's going to be really important, because Billy Donovan is never called into question. And the NBA is a league where they fire coaches unfairly and regularly, good coaches. This is the only league where the coach of the year winner is often fired within the year. And yet Billy Donovan is never even suggested to be in trouble. And he won't be after they get knocked out of the first round potentially again. Today they face the Warriors. And the reason is Westbrook's hard to play with. He is relentless, and sometimes relentless is really hard to play with. Great night, happy for him. I thought it was a very human touch with Nipsey Hussle. And not many people in the history of the world of basketball can do a 20-20-20. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I imagine Wilt did it a bunch. Wilt was different. Wilt was...
He's the second player to go 20-20-20 for a triple-double in NBA history since Wilt in 1968.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of Wilt. I'm old enough, I saw a little bit of Wilt. I didn't see great Wilt. I saw old crazy headband Wilt, who was harder to play with. Laker Wilt. Old Laker Wilt with Jerry West. But in the end, we all know what this sport's about. This long regular season that we're all kind of, let's get through it. And Westbrook's a headliner on that undercard. But here comes the main event, and here comes pay-per-view. And that will define this season for all the great players. All right. I don't know how many of you noticed. We have a lot of interesting stories today. When you take 3 days off, plus a weekend, it's like 5 days you're not talking sports. I mean, I talk to myself all day, but, mostly, irritating and annoying to my wife. 5 days not talking sports. There's about 7 other things I got to get to today. And there's something happening that is the most remarkable thing I've ever seen in any American sport. I've never seen it. I think it's unbelievable. I will get to it before the end of the hour. Plus Herdline News, plus Nick Wright. Coming up next, though, sometimes your dad, when you were a kid, would just remind you that he was your dad. My dad didn't do it a lot, but the one time he told me to grab the hose and bend it because he was going out to move the sprinkler. And as a little kid, I undid it when he got to the sprinkler and he got soaked. My dad reminded me that he was the dad and I was the 7-year-old boy. I remember it to this day. That was like 60, 50 years ago, right? A group of people in sports reminded us who's boss. That happened yesterday. And that's coming up, plus Nick Wright. When you have a good security system, things just feel different. They do. You worry less about locking every window or leaving every weekend. Or how about your kids?